Can you tell us anything whatsoever?
I know you just give us. One more station.
Welcome back to the Two Dudes Talk Music YouTube channel. I am the Reverend Raph, joined once again by my good friend Carl, aka the Beer Buddy.
What's going on, everybody?
As well as our new friend Van Leucia, who we've been talking to. We got the podcast episode out there. You should go and listen to that. There's all sorts of insightful stuff. This guy's out here writing, rock operas and overtures and all sorts of like Mozart type shit, just everywhere. You want to go and listen to that.
Here I am struggling to play 3 chords on a guitar.
Yeah. I'm trying to. Meanwhile, I'm like, okay, if I do this, I'm trying to remember the hand positioning to do like a minor third or a major third on the bass. So But anyway, go back and listen to the podcast for all that. It's crazy good episode there. But we are tired. It's here today for. I cannot talk this morning today. What the hell is going on with me? This is crazy. We are here today. I'm leaving it in. I don't give a shit. For the quick question quarter, spelt with Q's, not K's, because we don't roll like that. Yeah. And this is just some rapid fire questions to dive into our guest's musical mental mind, understand how he got started. I am really intrigued to hear some of these answers, by the way, because I think this is going to be some really good ones. And some of these questions I think are going to have some interesting answers, but we'll see. Yeah. We'll see how we go.
Appreciate you guys. I promise I'll try to keep it under 100 words.
No. Please feel free. Like it's
never
fine.
Quick.
It's fine. What was the first instrument that you learned to play? Vocals counts, recorder in grade 3 does not.
Okay, fair. Piano. Easily piano. It was piano and then shortly thereafter guitar. Do you want me to go into it, or is this a quick question we want to move on?
No. I mean, what was piano was the first instrument I learned properly as well. So I
sure.
I understand I haven't touched it since in 20 years almost, really. So it's one of those things. But yeah. I spent 5 years learning it, so I understand how important it can be with that. But sorry, go on.
For sure. No, thank you. Oh, look, I often joke that I don't really have so much good training, or I'm not touched by spirits or anything. I just have good pedigree because Mum was a classically trained vocalist. She was an opera singer, and Dad's a classical guitarist. So between the two of them, I pretty much had music beaten into me from a very young age. Started piano when I was, I think, 14 months, and guitar when I was 4.
14 months.
Yeah, it was just over 1. What? My parents apparently put masking tape on the piano and then wrote the letters on the piano, because it's at that age, if you could read letters, that means you can read notes. You can read notes.
True. That's true. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Yeah, literally the logic. If you can wave your arms, you can swim. So fucking learn.
And the great thing is, you don't even have to get the Z.
Yeah, that's right.
You only have to learn
you only need fucking 7 letters.
7 letters. That's right. You got a 7-letter pitch set. So, my mum got me started. Both my parents got me started on piano very young, and guitar very young as well. And I was a choir boy for a little bit, so I learned to sing. And it was nothing formal. I don't think I've actually had. I didn't have formal lessons in vocals until I want to say 2020, even after that 2019, as mentioned in the podcast, pushing out a song every 2 weeks. That was all just from self-learnt, self-taught technique. And thankfully having the privilege to work with Opera Australia mentors and tutors accompanying their students in their vocal lessons. So I was the pianist accompanying their students in the lesson. So I'd sort of gleaned quite a few things in those sessions. But it was piano and guitar first.
That's crazy, man. Quick aside there. Have you ever featured your parents in any of your stuff if they've got that sort of talent?
My father, no. As much as I would actually really like to do that for another record, I would really love to get him to play something eventually. But my mother is actually she's actually on Inexorable.
That's awesome.
yeah, in the Latin song Testimonium Calumnia, the final track on the album, it starts off with this glorious orchestral and choral thing, right? The 16-part vocal harmony, and the sopranos and altos are my mom.
Hell yeah, that's so cool.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Stoked that you were able to sort of like bring her in for something like that. It must have been a really
That's
nice
so
experience for you guys.
Yeah, it was actually super funny because like I wrote the lyrics and the notation out for her. I handed her the music, and she's like, "Oh, is this a piece that you've written?" I'm like, "Yeah." So what's it going to be like? Oh, it'll have classical elements.
Yes.
Yeah, don't answer the question. Just sing it. You
You're
don't
on
want
a
to
need
know.
to know basis.
Yeah,
And this is all you need to know.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
It's classical-ish.
This one might, I don't know, this one might be a bit vague but or blurry, but we'll see. What was the first album that you purchased? So maybe, obviously, you would have been exposed to a lot of music from a very young age there, but can you think of like a first album where you like, I want that album that you
Okay.
went and got?
Okay, so I'm going to give 3 answers because I am unfortunately that guy. The first album that I bought with money that I owned, that was my money, was of all things an Ultimate Santana CD,
Oh,
which honestly, great bangers, great songs all over that, but it was not an album that I had put any level of importance in. It was a thing that existed. I didn't think about how like this would be important to me because the thing is, again, musical family, so there were already so many records, so many CDs in the house.
Yeah.
Music was a surrounding, it was an environment. So it didn't like I don't believe that it counts in the spirit of the question.
Okay.
It's by the letter of the question, it's technically the first album I bought. The first album that I bought with my own money that I definitely wanted was not until much, much later, Time One by Winter Sun.
Okay.
Uh,
I'm not familiar with
that.
And Winter Sun is a controversial band, not because they've done any weird right-wing stuff that I know of, but they, unfortunately, after releasing this absolutely god-tier album, if you haven't heard it, go check it out. Time with a Roman numeral 1 at the end of it. Time 1. Scandinavian symphonic metal, really good shit, heavy, like shreddy stuff, but also just solid grooves all the way through. Really, really good record.
Okay.
And it was recommended to me by a Viking metal guitarist that I was hanging out with at the time. We were sort of doing some stuff and we were just hanging out, playing stuff together. And we went down to Utopia Records in Sydney, and I was like, you know what? I've never actually bought an album for the purpose of buying an album for me. I've bought music to be like sample CDs or to be reference records. Because like I said, like I bought these things, it's just like, oh, I just need this. Someone told me I need to learn some Santana songs, so I bought some Santana. Okay, call it a day. But like I'd never had bought a record for me. And he said, well, considering what you like, what you listen to, this is the one. So yeah, I bought Time One by Winter Sun, and it fucking blew my mind. It was great. And it's a band that unfortunately is embattled with controversy because they've been accused, with reasonable cause, of basically running away with their supporters' money. They had Patreons and Kickstarters and stuff for a potential Time 2 or like other records, and then just proceeded not to deliver it. And it's like, are you guys actually just like, are you guys just slow, or like do you have like interpersonal problems? Like do you have a light? And like people, the defenders of the band were like, like these guys are humans. Art takes time, and Time One was clearly a labor of love. Be patient, it will come. 10 years passed.
Wow.
Because I was going to say, I'm looking on YouTube Music and I can see Time 2.
Yeah,
I can see that there, but it kind of was a Chinese
very
democracy,
recently.
Bit of a Chinese democracy situation.
Kind of, yeah. So
wow.
it did finally come out much later. If you look at the difference in time between Time 1 and Time 2, it's a remarkable gap. So, like I said, they're controversial not for really wrong reasons, because I do believe that art does take time. And if someone has given you money as a form of patronage in supporting you financially between when, like, the moments that you can output art, to some degree, if you have a contractual obligation to the people who've given you cash to deliver something within a certain time frame, that's non-negotiable. That's a fucking deadline. Get that shit out there. But if someone's giving you money with an open-ended, when you can get to this and we will appreciate you for it, then take your time. Art takes time. And time too is a good record. Is it like we're talking like, remember when The Incredibles 2 came out and people were like, it's a good movie.
It's of all of the movies made, it's certainly one of them.
That's right. And it's just like, well, that's because you hyped it up for like 10 fucking years. If Incredibles 2 had come out 2 or 3 years after Incredibles 1, people would have been totally fine with it. There would have been no hassle. But the fact that it took so long is what led to that. So like I said, they're not really that controversial, really, but they are somewhat embattled for that.
There was a bit of fuss around that,
It's
That's
like the
right.
whole
So-
Tool situation when they had 10 years between an album or whatever it was, or however long it
but
was.
Tool hadn't had a fucking Kickstarter to pay for the album.
Exactly.
That's right.
And
that's
Tool
right.
are Tool. They can take as long as they want.
So yeah, that's my answer. Time 1, Winter Sun. And the third answer I'd like to give is actually much more in line with it. The first album that I bought and I truly, truly fell in love with was Scenes from Memory, Dream Theater. Like that is just a cherished album.
I can completely understand that one. I'm like, I went through.
It's on brand.
It is. I went through a stage where I was pretty obsessed with a lot of Dream Theater stuff and was like trying to go through and listen to all of the stuff. All
100%.
right. First live concert that you attended or that you can remember attending?
Yeah. Holy shit. Okay, again, hard question, if only because I've been playing concerts and attending concerts, classically speaking, for... Well, for reference,
Since you were a wee bairn.
Yeah, but basically, my first international performance was in Vienna at age 6. So,
Oh, wow.
Bro's just out here casually playing in Vienna and fucking at 6 years old. Like, just like, might be the most fucking cultured person we've ever had on this goddamn podcast. Like, what's
talking to these two bogans?
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing. We just had a conversation about growing up in Western Sydney, born and bred.
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
But yeah,
you can take the Westie out of Sydney, but you can't take the Sydney out of the Westie.
Well, yeah, that's right. You can take a boy out of Doonside, but you can't take the street fight out of the kid.
Nah.
But so, like I said, that's a complex question because I think I separate my classical life from my my Van Lucia life
that's
so
very
much.
Understandable.
And so like my first concert would probably be like at age, I don't know, whatever, like 5 or 6 in that I can remember, right? No, I think of all things, my first contemporary music, non-classical, just concert, was Maroon 5 with One Republic opening for them in Sydney. I remember we went to, I think it was Olympic Park or something like that. And my sister had decided to get myself and I think a couple of her friends tickets. And at the time, I was just bumping the Songs About Jane album on repeat. I adored that record. Still do. I think it's just really good songwriting. And yeah, Maroon 5, One Republic, and this is One Republic before they blew up. And it was just this. Everyone was like, "Holy, who are these guys? What the fuck?"
What is it too late to apologize for? Wasn't that there?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What's it too late to apologize for? What am I stopping and staring at? Like it's they played this insane opening set, and it was like, oh shit!
Yeah,
I just basically got 2 A-list tickets in one.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you over the course of watching it, you're like, oh, these guys are going to be somebody.
Like they clearly were, because they were opening for fucking Maroon 5 as an import band, so they weren't like some local band that had been picked up by Maroon 5 to represent on the Australian leg of the tour. No, they had brought One Republic with them, so there was already this clear acknowledgement that they were big enough.
Yeah.
But it was very nearly a case of them outshining the main act.
Mm.
Oh, good. Good.
I like
Yeah,
to see that.
yeah.
I love hearing about that because that's when you know that's when you know they're really gonna sort of hit a really high sort of pinnacle for their stuff. I love seeing that, and I mean even on a smaller scale, like I love like even at like local gigs and stuff. I love it when you're playing in a spot and there's like this newer band that you've not heard of and they play like kind of
Mm.
before you and you're like, oh, follow that. And it's like
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
terrifying, but
yeah.
at the same time it's inspiring and it gives you like drive to do that. Or if you're on a show with a band that maybe you don't like all that much and they're playing after you and you go follow this motherfuckers and you just go
Yeah.
out there and put on the absolutely killer set. All right, moving along to the next one. I'm fascinated at what the answer to this question is going to be. What's an instrument that you have always wanted to learn but haven't yet?
Ooh. Ooh.
So okay, before you answer that, how many instruments can you actually play?
Let me count. Hold up. Piano, guitar, bass. I'm gonna group all the guitar in one. So acoustic, classical. I'm gonna group that all in one. Um, Bass, drums, vocals. Can play a bit of cello. Can play a bit of. I'm currently learning the Chapman stick. That's heaps fun.
Chapman stick.
Yeah, look it up. It's absolutely
Okay.
cooked. It's like a surfboard, got strings strapped to it.
Okay.
You know what? This is going to sound rather predictable of me, but I would really like to learn how to like properly play the theremin. Because there are lots of theremins around. But like I like the idea of non-physical instrument playing.
Mm.
So I think the theremin, closely followed by the saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Cool.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's some good choices there. Good choices. If you could pick one big band or artist to open a show for, who would it be?
Fuck. See that becomes a dice roll between Dream Theater, Devon Townsend, and Opeth. Those three are like my
Those are
top
good.
three. And I mentioned them in the podcast as well. I mentioned that that's very much my like a big influence for me.
Okay.
But oh shit, Devon.
Yep, pretty fair. And you know what?
I like it.
You know what? Out of those three, I think Devon would probably be the one that would hear what you're doing and to actually be like I want to hear more, like take an interest in it and do all that. Like genuinely, I just the vibe I get from
He
him.
seems like a dude.
He seems like such a got to meet him at the signing and I was just like everyone in front and he's like everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's so nice to meet you." He's like, "No, it's nice to meet you. Like I'm here to meet you guys. Like you guys are my thing." And he was just I've seen his live streams. I was watching quite a few of his live streams during like the COVID lockdowns that he was doing, and he was trying to figure out like how to change the camera angles on stuff. And he had like he was literally had like an Xbox controller that he had hooked up to change the camera angles, and he had one camera strapped to like an oscillating fan so that he could get like a moving fucking picture and he would be playing these sets and singing with the backing tracks and everything and like whenever he'd get a moment he'd like change the camera angle, reach across to the controller to change it and everything. And he's just talking to people in the live chat. He just seems like such a chilled out, genuine dude who's been fortunate enough to be able to make a career out of making music. And but he hasn't twice. But he hasn't let it, change who he is. He just seems so down to earth. So, but that's cool. That's a very, very good choice. I like that.
Appreciate it.
And we've kind of touched on a few things that really could fulfill this next question. But what is something people may be surprised to learn about you?
That I got my start in the music industry working as an electronic producer. I started beyond like the classical stuff, which I think feels really on brand. Like when everyone sees me play, they're just like, "Oh yeah, classical. Definitely classical is where this kid got started." And jazz, like definitely this kid's a jazz cat. Okay, cool, fine. Electronic music is actually really dear to my heart. I started in the music industry as a ghost producer and as a session keyboardist for a producer who was associated with Ministry of Sound.
Oh
Um,
wow.
and that's where I got my start. I was started by doing sessions with this guy. Not going to name names. Because he was kind of a dude. Uh, but yeah, I got my start like basically making progressive house, and uh,
Nice.
the I was there for the beginning of dubstep.
Man, I swear to
And
God, if I ever need like any shit done, like you're the dude I'm calling because I feel like any need that like anyone could have from like production stuff or like, hey, I'm trying to get like a thing on here or like maybe I need some backing tracks under here, like stuff like that. I'm just reaching out to you, brother, because I feel like you can
appreciate that.
do literally somewhat, even if it's not something that you're skilled in. I feel like someone could come to you and go, you've got such a broad skill set and knowledge base that I really feel like someone could come to you and go, hey, can you try this thing that you've never done before and that you're not really familiar with, and you would still be able to come out with something that was quality and would do like be a really good example of whatever that was.
I appreciate that comment so much, man. That's high praise. I really appreciate that. I mean, like that's what Saturnalia was. That EP that was also released the same year as Inexorable. Like that EP is 5 or 6 tracks of me just pouring my heart out to my roots as a EDM guy. There's a track there that's like old school R&B. There's a track on there that's like Swedish House Mafia style. There's another track on there that's like synth wavy. It's kind of a mixtape, but it is like a real head nod to my EDM roots. And um, I have such a love for diversity, and not just like diversity for diversity's sake. Like all art is valid, right? All art is valid. It doesn't matter if you're Yoko Ono screaming at an art gallery, which gets memed so much, or if you're Gua, or if you're Devin Townsend, or if you're the Dillinger Escape Plan, taking shits on stage. I don't care. Like art is art, and if your audience is there for it, and if they've consented to it, then express it in the way that you see fit.
Mm.
And like it doesn't matter. Like genre is just there to help people,
Put it in a box.
put in a box to understand it, right?
Yeah.
But it's utterly meaningless to me, right? Like music is music, and it so happens to be that I get to be privileged enough to be there to make that happen for either myself or for others.
Man, I
And
got
for you
some.
to say like, you would reach out, I would love it. I would love it.
Look, man, do I have some recommendations for you that I think you will really love? Once we're off thing, I'll give you some names. But speaking of recommendations, I'd like to get one from you. Who is a band or artist that you're listening to at the moment that you think is underrated and deserves more attention?
Ooh, okay. I don't know about underrated, but certainly they're lesser known amidst metalheads. And certainly not known at all if for not being metal. If you're not in the metal zone, Leprous. I adore Leprous. The track that I mentioned, that the single that I'm going to be putting out, is called Heathen. Very Breaking Benjamin inspired to begin with. Started to go different directions, and I just one of the tracks on Inexorable and this single is just so Leprous coded. I adore them so much. They have virtually taken over my sonic palette,
Mhm.
and I don't see that going anywhere anytime soon because their stuff is so good.
That's
Um,
Leprous.
Perfectly correct. Yes, Leprous. Um, they have a record that's just come out, which I think is lesser liked by their core fans, but I'm also I'm a pragmatic enough guy that like I didn't have a problem with Opeth's non-screamy albums.
Hmm.
So like when I say it's also good, keep in mind that I do genuinely like In Cult of Venenum and Sorceress, like those two albums from Opeth, which are categorically what a lot of metal fans would say is not very Opethy. So if someone was to listen to Leprous, I would say either Cole or Aphelion. Like they're sort of on opposite ends of their discography. Cole's very early on, and Aphelion is much later, much newer in their discography.
I'll
I
tell
think
you
the
this
second
much.
latest
I'm
album.
listening to it now. For anyone out there that's interested, if you're a Carnival fan, you will love these lot.
Okay, cool.
Like, I'm having a
I've
quick
got
listen
such a
now.
yeah.
Very good.
Amazing.
It's very good.
That's a follow.
Yeah, I think if it were not for me having gotten onto Leprous within a couple of years ago, I would have said Protest the Hero because they are lesser known. But at the same time, Protest the Hero, I would say, is some like it's a sort of like an in the metal scene, if you know band. Whereas Leprous is
I've
totally
definitely
underrated.
heard the name Protest the Hero, but Leprous.
Yeah.
Actually, I do already follow Leprous on YouTube Music, but I think that's because someone else may have recommended them in the past on this question.
Okay.
I don't think I've actually listened to them yet, so I will have to change that note now. Though, all right. Second last question: if you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life, what would that album be?
Oh.
I feel like this might be more challenging for you than most.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. Okay. I'm not just trying to suck up to you, but this is a genuine belief I have. It's Empath, Devin Townsend.
Okay.
Yeah, like again fairly obvious by this point. I am a big like fanboy of Devin, but at the same time, I do think it's just such an incredibly well written, well produced record, and it ticks so many boxes for me.
He really put the work in on that one. Not that he doesn't on everything else, but like that one, you can tell he went extra on that.
Didn't he put like $250,000 of his own cash into it as well?
Jesus
I don't know about that
Christ.
budget. I've not heard anything around that, so I can't really comment. But
Yeah, I think that's basically what happened. Like the label gave him a budget to record the album, and then he didn't like, or no, I don't say didn't like, but he wasn't completely satisfied with the drum takes he got in the initial recording sessions, and he ended up going through two more drummers, and he had to pay for those sessions out of pocket, amidst other things.
Here we go. I spent 170,000 of my own money on the album, and the label has spent a ton.
Yeah, okay, so not $250,000, an $1/8 but that's still crazy.
That's
still 200K, man, just to record your drum parts. Wow,
that's fucking
crazy.
I mean, look, hey, when you're going for something, you're going for something, and that album is absolutely something. Like it is crazy.
It is just that album says to me not only commitment but also whimsy, and I think that's so necessary. Like those are polar opposites that I really believe in as an artist. Like you've got to be whimsical, man. If you want to write some weird shit, you want to put some weird shit in it, fucking do it. Like don't take yourself too seriously. But at the same time, you got to commit. And what does commitment mean? Sometimes it means cash. That's unfortunate, but true. But other times it also means maybe mixing the record a certain way that might piss off a couple of YouTube reactors, not naming names. But the truth is that it sounds like an amazing record at face value. You know, anyone that I show a song from that record, whether or not they're a metalhead, goes, "Holy shit, this guy's talented." And I don't just aspire to be on any level comparable to that. I don't just aspire to that. I hold that as a standard, you know, like, and if I had to listen to an album for the rest of time with no deviation, I think I would want to listen to something that I not only don't get tired of, because I don't have that problem of getting tired of things really, unless it's just an objectively badly written song. But like, if it's a record like that just has diversity, has commitment and whimsy and all those things coded right into it, I'd say so. But I think like if you asked me like 5 or so years ago, I would have said some shit like Dance for Scenes from a Memory, Dream Theater, and that would have been like some very typical answer. But yeah, Empath is just.
But I feel like it's the kind of album where you could probably listen to it every day for the rest of your life and still hear or pick up something new each time.
100%.
You could pick up a new detail each time you listen to it, and it would be just yeah, you wouldn't. There's always something new to discover when you go back to some of his albums.
That the last track on that album I keep coming back to, it is just incredible. The first and last tracks on well, technically not the first track because that's sort of an intro track. So track 2 and the last track on that album are just god tier.
And last question, nice little wholesome one to take it home there. What are you most grateful for about your involvement in music?
People. I'm really grateful for people. I've met some truly terrible and truly amazing people in my time in the music industry. All of the career, the lifestyle, all that could fuck off if I could keep the people. And like that is just, some of the best friends that I've made, some of the most meaningful relationships I've made. And I don't mean romantic. I mean just like truly wholesome friendships that I've made, and authentic ones at that, have been forged through the music scene. And I don't think I would have continued, or I certainly wouldn't have come back from my hiatus as a writer if I didn't see the value in people. I think without having the performances and everything else that sort of facilitated me meeting people, I wouldn't have continued doing so. I keep turning up to shows and the running joke of, musician drives in a $500 car 50 miles for a $5 gig. The question is why does he do it? Because he fucking loves it, because he needs it, right? I do it because I meet people. I'm fortunate and privileged enough to be able to run a music career that's self-sustaining enough that I don't have to really worry about, am I going to be able to pay for fuel for the way home based on the proceeds from this gig? That's understandably a very real concern for many musicians. I can afford to turn up to a gig and just hang out with people, and that's arguably why I do it. I put my hand up for so many different gigs because I just want to meet more and more and more people because, there are some real shitheads out there, but for the most part, not just the metal community, most music lovers really are just good people.
It's awesome.
That's amazing. That's really good. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate you being so candid with some of those. That was great, though. There was really, really interesting answers in there. That was a good one. All right.
Appreciate you.
That's all for the Quick Question Quarter today. As we said, if you haven't listened to the podcast yet, go back and check that out. And we will have Get in the Bin coming tomorrow, so make sure you keep an eye out on that. If you like this video, give it a like. If you didn't, downvote the shit out of it. We will have all of Van Lucia's links down in the description rather, so you can go and see everything that the dude's got going on, and you can keep an eye out for gigs and upcoming releases and all that cool stuff. Go and listen to the albums and the releases on Spotify. There's plenty there you can check out. Really, really awesome stuff. And yep, that's all for today, though. I've been the Reverend Raph. He has been the Beer Buddy Kyle. This has been Van Lucia. We'll catch you guys next time. Stay cool.
Peace.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We really hope you had a good time. If you did, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell down there. It helps the channel grow. We are still a fairly young channel and we like to try and grow our audience all over the world. We do also, for those of you who are interested, have a Patreon. It's just a couple of bucks a month. At the moment, you get all the videos early and ad-free, but we are working on ways to increase the value of that and make it a bit more enticing. So don't forget to keep an eye out and check back on what's going on over there. Other than that, thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.